Inside Iran's hidden war, the Kurdish Uprising Tehran won't admit is happening. Somewhere in the mountains of western Iran right now, a soldier is walking down a road he has walked 100 times before. He knows every turn. What he doesn't know is that 6 men are watching him from a ridge his own government insists is fully under control. That's not a movie scene. That happened this week. And it's part of a story almost nobody outside the region is telling. Because while the entire world was staring at Tehran, watching a nation bury its own assassinated supreme leader in a funeral that stretched across days, something else was happening 200 miles away. Quietly, deliberately, off camera. On the surface, it looked like just another flare-up in a conflict that simmered for decades. Kurdish fighters, Iranian forces, a border region that never quite settles down. Nothing new. But that's not what this actually is. And the moment you understand why, the entire picture of Iran this week starts to look very different. It starts on June 27th. Kurdish fighters clash with Iran's most feared force, the Revolutionary Guard, near a ridge called Gegesh Heights. When the smoke clears, 4 fighters are dead. 2 men, 2 women. On its own, that's tragic, but not unusual. Iran and its Kurdish minority have been trading blows like this since long before most of us were born. What comes next is where it stops being routine. 4 days later, a car carrying 6 Kurdish fighters is ambushed in broad daylight. Their own political party insists they weren't even armed for combat. They were traveling to organize, not to fight. It didn't matter. All 6 were killed. Here's the part that should make you lean in. When Iranian state television reported the deaths, they only named 5 men. One name was missing entirely. His name was Mohammed Amin Bayazidi. And the reason his name disappeared is more revealing than anything the government actually said. Local sources say Bayazidi wasn't just another fighter in the car. He was something far more dangerous to Tehran, the quiet architect of an underground network already operating inside Iranian cities. Erasing his name wasn't sloppy reporting. It was damage control. Because admitting he existed means admitting the resistance has already crossed a line Iran hoped it never would. And the bodies kept piling up. 3 police officers gunned down at a checkpoint. 2 more security personnel killed in a separate ambush. In just 14 days, independent monitors confirmed at least 20 deaths. To put that in perspective, that's the deadliest stretch of Kurdish resistance against Tehran in over a decade, in the space of 2 weeks. So who is actually behind all of this? That question turns out to be more complicated than anyone expected. This isn't one organized rebellion with a single leader giving orders. It's 5 separate Kurdish factions, and each one is playing a completely different game. One faction fights like a special forces unit. Teams of 6 move at night, strike fast, then vanish into ridgelines that Iranian drones consistently fail to track. 20 years of guerrilla experience, built specifically for this terrain. Another faction barely picks up a weapon at all. Instead, it runs something closer to an intelligence agency, quietly embedded inside Kurdish cities, feeding real-time troop movements back to the fighters in the mountains. This was Bayazidi's world. And here's the detail that should genuinely surprise you. These 5 groups are not secretly coordinating. There is no shared command center pulling the strings. 3 different strategies, unfolding in the same region, in the same 14 days, without a single person directing all of it. Which means this isn't one carefully planned uprising. It's several separate breaking points snapping at almost exactly the same moment. And that raises the real question: why now? The answer starts back in February, months before any of this. When American and Israeli airstrikes hit Iran, they didn't only target generals and missile sites. They also quietly knocked out something far less visible: Iran's radar and surveillance systems across this exact mountain corridor. Those systems went dark, and they were never fully rebuilt. Whether that was intentional or just collateral damage from a much bigger war, no one can say for certain. But the effect is identical either way. Iran can no longer see this insurgency coming until it's already happening. Even the mountains themselves seem to be fighting against Tehran. Some of these ridgelines climb past 10,000 feet, cutting through gorges with no road access at all. Iran's aging helicopters barely function at that altitude. which forces military convoys onto single, narrow roads with nowhere to go if they're ambushed. But here is what makes this moment genuinely different from every flare-up before it. This uprising is not happening alone. That same week, the United States struck more than 80 targets across Iran in a single night. The next night, it hit 90 more, stretching from the southern coastline to critical energy facilities. Iran fired back almost immediately, sending missiles and drones toward American bases in 2 Gulf nations. Standing at a NATO summit in Turkey, President Trump made it official. The ceasefire, he said, was over. This wasn't even the first time that ceasefire had broken. A truce in April, a formal deal signed in June. It lasted barely 3 weeks before Iran struck commercial ships in one of the most important shipping lanes on the planet, and the entire agreement collapsed again. Now stack one more piece onto this. Iran's brand new supreme leader has barely been seen in public since taking power, not even at his own father's funeral. And just days ago, Iran announced it will start charging foreign ships to pass through that same shipping lane, a move Washington rejected within hours. Step back and look at the whole board. A ceasefire that has failed twice in days. A leader who won't show his face. An unresolved standoff over one of the most valuable waterways on Earth. And quietly running underneath every one of those headlines, a Kurdish uprising killing government forces in mountains the regime cannot control. This isn't a government managing one crisis. This is a government fighting 4 wars at once. And the one happening in silence, in the mountains, might end up mattering more than all the others combined, because it's the one Tehran is working hardest to make sure the world never sees. A government fighting a foreign power, a shipping standoff, its own succession crisis, and an uprising it cannot put down all at once is not a government in control. It's a government running out of hands to put out fires. Tell me what you think happens next in the comments. And if you want to see exactly how this ends, subscribe, because this story is far from finished.